Welcome to Shallow Waters, where we're not afraid to admit that swimming in the same deep water as you is hard. Today, I want to talk about a mental health related topic, and one that kind of took me by surprise, but didn't take me by surprise this past week. But it's official. I have adult ADHD. Apparently probably had childhood ADHD, but because I was a girl and because I had really, really good grades, nobody thought that I did or identified me. I was also just before the age where people were really being diagnosed with ADHD, so I may have also just missed it because people weren't looking for it in my age cohort. So there's that too. But looking back, kind of makes sense. I never had school detention, but I stayed after school because I'd interrupt people in class, or because I'd talk out of turn, or because I was clicking my feet under my desk almost every day. I can't tell you how many times on a real chalkboard I have written, I will raise my hand before I speak, and I will wait my turn in class. And I will not disrupt my neighbors. Those were frequent things. And to this day, I'm very aware, just from being raised by, I think, caring, good people, that I need to think before I speak, which I often don't do, but I try. And that I should wait my turn before speaking and not interrupt people. And I still catch myself interrupting people all the time. Can't tell you how many times a week I say I am sorry for interrupting people, but I'm glad that I was made aware that I should be cognizant of these things, because I do think it's helped out throughout my life. However, I think not knowing that I was dealing with ADHD also made it challenging, because I felt like I could think up so many things and I'd have a hard time living up to them in reality. And I'd get frustrated with myself pretty much daily. And I was very critical of myself until a few years ago, where I just said, screw it, I'm sick of just talking to myself that way. Still do sometimes, but I was like, I can't be the meanest person in the world to myself. Like, that's just not right. Where everybody else, even people who don't like me, are kinder. So that was like, no, we're gonna stop that. But I was often very, 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 very frustrated because I could think something and not actually do it. And I know when I was younger, I did see a psychologist, I believe. Maybe she was a neuropsychologist, I'm not sure which. But I did have an eval, I think it was in second grade. They didn't identify me with ADHD, but they did notice that I had a very high IQ and a very average functional IQ. And I wonder if that's related to the ADHD diagnosis I now have. The story kind of goes back a little bit further. I've been suspecting this for about 4 years or so. Somebody very close to me at the time had taken the evaluation for ADHD and had been found to have adult ADHD, and they thought I had it. And so they had me take the quiz unofficially. So they photocopied their quiz before I think they had taken the test, in case they filled anything out wrong. They'd have an extra copy, because it was a paper form. I know, everything's online now. And I took the quiz and it said I did too, but it was unofficial. So I was like, maybe I just wrote those things down because, this person was encouraging me in that way. So fast forward 4 years later, I encounter some depression issues. I think they're related to just life, but also related to COVID. I think that added to it, recovering from COVID and then having COVID really affect my family for a moment or two. Didn't bounce back very quickly. ended up having my Prozac prescription increased, and a couple months later, the doctor and I decided that I should maybe try Wellbutrin. So when I started Wellbutrin, I should probably be doing my makeup now. When I started Wellbutrin, I started feeling effects about 3 days later, which seemed strange to me because the doctor said it would take about 4 weeks. And I noticed that I was getting a lot more done at work. In particular, there were 2 days in a row where I got everything done on my to-do list, which, looking back, I don't think has ever happened, like ever happened. And another few days go by and I've gotten pretty close to it, like 2 or 3 things left on the list. I mean, usually I'm like halfway through, so I'm like, this is really strange. I also felt a little bit restless, I think I would say. Not anxious, but restless. And I was looking for things to do to fill in the restless time. And I was folding more laundry. I was organizing some of the clothes that were in my dining room and had been sitting there for over a year. And I was like, what's going on here? So I reached out after about 5 days to I think it's the psychiatrist's office. I always get psychologists and psychiatrists mixed up. But anyway, reached out and they reached back out to me and said, no, you shouldn't be feeling anything yet. It must be just coincidence. So I'm like, that's really strange. I'm like, okay. So of course, it being 2022 and the internet being everybody's best friend, I type in, how long does it take for Wellbutrin to take effect? And it said, when I pulled it up, and this wasn't even like in the article, this is just a little blurb that pops up on Google, like kind of previewing what might be of interest to you. And it says something about it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to typically take effect if you're dealing with depression. But if you're taking it for ADHD, you might see the effects sooner. That's what the words are. So then I look into it, and it was like significantly sooner. So I was like, that's really strange. I wonder if I actually have ADHD and this is helping with it. So of course, my next appointment, I asked that very question. They're like, yeah, you might have ADHD. It's very possible. My brother has it. Some of my cousins have it. 2 of my sons have it. So there's a lot of it going on in the family. And I I get a copy of the test. Strangely enough, I also get a paper copy. Like, is this like the official way to handle ADHD is with paper? But anyway, take the paper test, I scan it, I email it back. And then I have a meeting with the doctor and they asked me a bunch of questions, which was really funny because it was a web appointment. What do you call it? Telehealth. So I'm on the telehealth appointment, but I'm at home, and she's like, do you ever find yourself not finishing things that you start? And I said, well, not typically at work because I, force myself to finish them and I'm aware of the deadlines, but at home it happens all the time, like all the time. And she's like, well, can you give me an example? And all I did was turn my phone slightly, and there's this giant box, like as tall as my fridge. And I'm like, that's a couch that has been in my house for 6 months and it's still in the box. And I said, and I bought a second couch that's its twin and it's in my other room and it's also still in the box. And she was like, interesting. And then I start showing her all these other projects I haven't done. And of course, when we get to the end of the whole thing, she's like, I do think you have combined type ADHD. And we talk a little bit more about that. We talk a little bit more about how we might treat it. To start with, I'm just staying on the Wellbutrin, but we might discuss Strattera next month. But I'm trying to look more into that and see if that might be something to either switch to or to add to what I'm already taking, because I don't really want to lose the benefits that I've gotten from the Prozac and the Wellbutrin, but they're the experts, not me. I don't pretend to be an expert on medicine. But I have not been doing any of my things. But I am curious if any of you have taken Strattera or any other ADHD medications. At this point, I'm very nervous about the stimulant ones because I'm already such a hyper person, for one. And two, oh, that feels so good. I am prone to getting very anxious, and I've even noticed a little bit of it with the Wellbutrin, that I'm a little more anxious than usual, that I don't want to make that any worse. I'm afraid that might just rev me up too far, but who knows? I mean, I'm open to whatever the doctors think is best, and also curious what all of you have experienced, if any of you have been on any of these medications, or perhaps you've even found, lifestyle hacks that have worked well for you. I know that since I was a kid, I've had day planners. I now use the Outlook calendar primarily to organize myself. I have a running to-do list, and then I have a condensed form to-do list with the more important things that I can't forget to do. Constantly going. I take notes all day long. I started that as a kid. And back then it was just called study skills. It wasn't like an ADHD hack, but I studied those study skills like they were going to be my ticket to ride, and boy were they. They made all the difference in the world to me. I can thank my auntie Mel for helping me with my study skills. I can also thank several teachers, and also a book. Oh, I'm not ready for this. And also a book that I read the summer before 6th grade, and it was called The Scholastic Guide to A+ Junior High Studying. I'm pretty sure that was the name of it. And I spent the whole summer reading and rereading that. Now, that's not the only thing I read, because I was at the library pretty much every 5 days to switch out 5 books that they'd let me take. So I read a lot that summer, but I'd read a book, probably a fictional one, and then I'd read the Scholastic Guide to Studying, because I wanted that A+. And I tell you, the stuff in that book, it works, because from that moment on, I was pretty much an A student. And boy, did I take notes, and boy, did I have calendars. Teddy always loves to turn off my... Thank you, Teddy. And so now I'm just putting on my prescriptions. He wants soy milk. I'll be right back. I don't know if you can hear that, but that is my washing machine being done with a load of clothes. So I guess I should go check that out soon. I should probably put my hair back. That would make sense. So I just had my hair cut, by the way. All right, so back to ADHD. Looking back, it makes sense. And I thought that I might get that result. So I was suspecting it. So you'd think I would feel relieved when they say, yes, you have ADHD. And for a second I did, but I was right. But most of this week, I've actually felt kind of sad about it. Not depressed, but sad about the news, because I look back and I see how much I would try and work so hard, and how I felt like I was working harder than other people, But I didn't know for sure because, you know, you can't get into other people's brains. That's my little dude. I better go check on him in a second. He sounds very happy, but he sounds like he's got to get into trouble. All right. I might try. I might end up going really soon, but might try. So now I'm going to put on the new sunblock I got, which is tinted, which is very strange. So recently I've actually been feeling kind of sad about it, which surprised me because I think I would have felt, I don't know, supported or not justified. That's not the word. But I would have just validated. That's the word I wanted. I would have felt supported or validated, but instead I felt a little bit sad because looking back at how hard I've worked in the past and how I was feeling, you know, that wasn't all in my head like I'd always tell myself it was. You know, I'd tell myself, no, everybody else is just working hard. You just don't know it because you're not them, you know? And that way very well might be true. I mean, I'm sure lots of people do work hard, but I just remember, you know, coming home from school and doing homework from the time I got home from school until bedtime. And that was pretty standard for me. Now, granted, I got A's, but that's what I had to do to get them. And I mean, other people might not have been getting A's, but it didn't seem like they were spending that kind of time on trying to do these things that I was. And I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe some of you can say whether you were spending that much amount of time on your homework. But it was similar in college. Like, I was one of the only people that didn't have a real job in college. Yes, I did art modeling for fun here and there, and they did pay me, but it was more for fun and they gave me money and it was kind of cool. But I didn't have a job in college. I worked in summers, I worked on vacations, but I didn't work during the semester. And I was terrified of that idea. And I was so glad that I had enough funding to live frugally without having to work. I'd rather have lived frugally and purchased less than go get a job and be able to purchase more. It was more important that I could focus on my studies and not be pulled in a million different directions. The idea of doing that overwhelmed me tremendously. I mean, I didn't even do it, but the thought of having to work while going to college stressed me out immensely. I would get overwhelmed just thinking about it. And I was so glad I didn't have to do that. So I didn't. And more recently, as an adult, I've been successful in my career, or I feel I have. I mean, maybe not as successful as one would expect an Ivy League graduate to be. I'm not there, but I've certainly done well and continued to get promotions and continued to take on more responsibilities and continued to, most of the time, really knock it out of the park. There've been a couple times where I haven't, or I've missed the mark, but for the most part, I've knocked it out of the park. And that is always my goal. I'm not really motivated financially to do it. Hopefully my bosses aren't listening. But I want to do an excellent job just to do an excellent job. And I also want to see my team get rewarded. I also want to get the recognition. I'll be honest, I love a little bit of attention. I am reading the 5 Languages of Appreciation at Work, which is an offshoot of the 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, which I've also read. Everyone at work is reading, or at least all the managers are reading the 5 Languages of Appreciation. I definitely think words of affirmation is definitely mine. I feel like that's like one of mine across the board. It's one of my love languages too. I think I tend to show things in acts of service, but I tend to really like to receive words of affirmation. I think I give that out a little bit too. I like an encouraging word, and I like to share one. But that's very motivating for me. And for the most part, I do well. However, boom, 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 I have definitely found work more and more challenging as I have come up the ranks. I think I've always had a tendency to be overwhelmed, and I do feel like I spend a lot of my mental energy managing my emotions so I can stay on the task. I mean, that's one of my number one things in my head is like, don't feel, just do. Do. Do the thing, stay on task, do. And sometimes I can put my blinders on so I stay in do mode, and then I can miss all the things around me. I suspect that might be part of the ADHD thing as well. I have incredible focus, but when I am not in that incredibly focused zone, then I'm highly distractible. I have like two modes, highly focused, highly distractible. I don't know if that's the case of a lot of other people with ADHD. I'm suspecting that it is. I do know a little bit about it from studying it from the perspective of being a parent of children with ADHD and things that they need to be successful learners. I'm a little less familiar with how it affects adults, but I suspect that these are all manifestations of that, and I would be very curious if that's your experience as well. So I'll probably speed through this makeup part, so maybe I'll be quiet. Just so you can see some of the things that I am doing. So today I am using the HD Makeup Forever because I do find it's a little more matte, and my skin has been so oily lately. And as much as I love the aesthetic of the Jones Road when I first put it on my face becomes a greasy, sticky mess by the end of the day. And if I put powder on it, it looks terrible. It's just not something you can really add a lot of powder to. It's just so oily itself that the powder absorbs the oil in the Jones Road. And then once my natural skin oils come in, the powder is already maxed out, and it just looks like I have a cake baked on my face. So I am not going to do that today, although I do really like the aesthetic of it. So I maybe at some point will play around with maybe using just small amounts of it just to add glow where I want to in a more subtle way than a traditional highlight. I'm thinking that's probably the best way to utilize it and get the effect that I want. And look, I dyed my scalp red. I just think that's hilarious. You know, I've always thought I had an energetic personality. I've always thought of myself as an extrovert. I probably am, but I wonder how much combined type ADHD is part of this versus what's my personality and what's, I guess, my thinking type. But who knows? Who knows? I think I'm going to still use this. I'll put more on my hand because the back of the hand is my favorite palette. I'm just gonna put a little on my chest because that seems very, very red today. Maybe more so because I rubbed sunblock on it. I think I've started noticing these coming through, but I don't think they're in all different ways. Isn't that cool? Ouch! I mean, granted, I have to kind of flex for them to show up, but I think I have collarbones. And of course, I have no idea what I weigh, so I may weigh more, I may weigh less, but I don't remember seeing my collarbones recently, so I'm kind of excited about that because it is a feature I like, so they can come back, that's fine. But I'm not going on any diets. No, not right now, and I don't know if ever, but definitely not right now. I am liking the intuitive eating lifestyle, and I like just trying to be more active. It's just a good place for me right now mentally. Although more exercise I do think helps, and I think that might be something that actually was helping with my ADHD, so I do want to get into that again. I also had this nice little shard of glass. Can you see it? Can you see it? It's in my hand. Can you see it? That little shard of glass. I'm gonna throw it away in the trash now. That was stuck in my crock. And it was poking me. And it was freaking me out because I am terrified of getting glass in my foot now after what happened last year. I never, ever, ever, ever want to get blood poisoning again. I never, ever want to have emergency surgery on my feet. Never! It's taken me most of the year just to get my gut health back in a decent place. Although I'm still burping all the time, which is really weird because I've never in my life, never been somebody who burps a lot. And ever since I went on all those broad spectrum antibiotics at the hospital, I have been a burp city lady. So kombucha and all the probiotics are my friends. And see how I went off on that tangent real fast. But I saw that little piece of glass still sitting on the countertop. And let's see, now that I've done that, where did we leave off? I do find putting anything from a pot on my face really tricky when I have fingernails. And then I end up using brushes, but I don't like the finish as much as I like it when I use my fingers. So maybe I shouldn't put giant fingernails on. Also, fingernails. These are considered medium. And the ones that to me look like long are called short. And the ones they call long, I would say are dragon claw. So medium is about as long as I can wear. All right, I am back. Just wiped the foundation off my lips. I'm gonna put some lip mask on. This is from Bite Beauty. I've heard a rumor they're closing. Everything on their website right now is 40% off. I don't know if that's true, but it is odd that they're selling everything. I would think they were either closing or rebranding. So I grabbed a bunch of things from them, and I've recently grabbed a bunch of things from Makeup Forever that also went out of business, or I should say went out of business. We can't say also yet because we don't know, but I have two of these now. These are both sun-kissed. Oops. I didn't know I already had it. But one's open, one's not. Okay. I historically have not been a big powdered bronzer person, but we're heading into summer and I'm feeling like doing things a little bit differently. All right. All right, so that's kind of pretty, I think. And it's not too dark, which is great. I actually do want to use the Jones Road today. I'm feeling Let me just drop more things on the floor. All right, so this is the Miracle Balm and Flushed, which is my favorite one of the Miracle Balms. It is just so pretty and it's not too bright. Is that Tedwin? No, that's Simon. Hi, Simes. How you feeling? Go talk to Simon. Back again. And as you can see, it's very red when I rub it, but that's just because my face is red from being rubbed. It settles down very nicely. So I really like that color. And the other thing I've been really, really liking lately, I mean, there's a few different things. I'm going kind of blush crazy lately. I've always liked blush, but now it's like really kind of in, so everybody else is feeling the same way I always have about blush, and I'm enjoying that. So the other one I'm really liking is this, and mine is in Inner Glow, and I want my cream blush brush. And I just want to put it right up here. It's a little, on me, more orangey. I know it doesn't look that way in the pan, or maybe it does. It looks to me very brown in the pan. But on my face, it looks very orangey, I think. But I like it. Especially with the Flushed being so pink. I just think they're so pretty together. I do feel like all of this is a little still light on the contour side, so I'm going to just put a little scoop of contour. And this is the She Glam from Shein. And pat it in. I think what we are going to do is some eyes. And I want to show you something really cool. Or at least I thought it was really cool yesterday. Because Makeup Geek. Is there something stuck to my face? There it is. I got it. I think. Makeup Geek is going out of business, or went out of business the 1st of April. So they're selling off their entire stock at really low prices. So I've been stocking up on their stuff. That's where the Sun-Kissed bronzer came from. This is not hard to open. I opened it just as fine yesterday. This is magnetic, and you put what you want in it. And you can fit 9 eyeshadows in there. I think I could probably fit some odds and ends along the side. But this is a palette that I created with the colors I wanted. So these are not my formulations, my eyeshadows at all, but this is my color story. And I think it actually goes pretty well with what I'm wearing. And I'm just super excited about it because they're all things that I want to wear. Similarly, this is one that I've been really enjoying lately, and that's the Hello Berlin by Essence. And it has also got some pretty greens and neutrals. Just very happy for me right now. What fun it is to laugh and sing a swing song tonight.
Or I could save like for 5 more weeks for this $60 thing.
What's the $60 thing?
A video game.
Oh, a video game.
Full price video game because $60 is full price.
Well, what could you do on the DS that might be fun?
Well, 3DS again.
Okay, what could you do on the 3DS?
Well, mainly for the virtual console things
Yep.
that you can't get on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Because some reason they haven't ported it onto the Switch yet. Basically just like the ability to play older games that were put on the 3DS, but not on the Switch for some reason.
Teeny tiny little brush. La, 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 la. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring. I don't know why I'm singing Christmas songs. I don't know where this thought came in and da 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 da.
Or maybe I could just buy myself a pizza with this week's money.
Why would you want to just buy yourself a pizza? I'd probably buy you a pizza anyway.
Well, you already did. Also, because I get the entire pizza to myself.
Oh.
And not just the 2 slices I got yesterday.
That was awfully yummy, though. That was one of the best pizzas I think I've had in a long time. It was like extra super yummy somehow.
How many slices did you have, Mom?
1.5.
Okay, how much did you...
I ate my one, and then Teddy left a half of one behind, and I ate that.
How much did Teddy eat?
I think Teddy had 2.5, maybe. I'm hungry too.
That pizza.
That was a good pizza.
Want it again?
Do we have any more left?
No, we obviously don't. Everybody ate it all.
So I'm back. Fortunately, that time before Teddy didn't run out of the house naked. It was just my mom stopping by with a bowl and $10 for Simon. I've been really liking my eyebrows lately, although I've been trying a few different things. This is one of my favorites, is to use the Shein dual-ended with the pencil end to do my tails, and then using the Benefit, I forget what it's called, the Benefit, not Wow Brow, that's what the knockoff is called. To fill in the fronts. I think that's been very structured but natural, and that's kind of that happy medium place that I like to be. Again, this is the Wet n Wild. This is the sparkly brown one. I've had this way too long, and I got it at the dollar store. It's probably time to retire it. I have some new ones coming in from CVS, and they were like $1.60. I spent more. Oh, inflation. I think what I need to do, maybe I can do it here. There we go. All right. I was trying to get underneath where I put the line. I couldn't get under there without lifting my eyelid. I know we're not supposed to move eyelids around, but sometimes you just have to. Now, yesterday, I put on a lipstick that I have a strong suspicion I'm falling in love with. I don't think it's the right lipstick for today. I'll show it to you, though. It is from Bite Beauty. It is from their big sale. It's called Tannin. Is it not just gorgeous? And it's got this really cool matte, almost fuzzy feeling container. I don't know what that is, but it's really nice to touch. Sensory. I've been revisiting my Thrive Cosmeceuticals Liquid Lash Extensions mascara. Oops, there's a booger on it. I hate mascara boogers. There, took care of that. This is a tubing mascara, so is the telescopic. I find that the telescopic and this, these are almost the same product, I swear. The biggest difference is that the brush on this is slightly bigger and the brush on that is slightly smaller. I gotta go see what Teddy's doing because he is having a good time. Ted, is that you or no, that's Simon. I hear that sock foot. I have not done my hair at all today. I had a haircut 2 days ago. And yesterday, after my haircut, I decided I would dye my hair with permanent hair dye for like the first time in forever. So I used a color called Garnet. I mixed it with the red that I've been putting on my ends. And now I've dyed my scalp. Stick with the lip mask. It looks good. And I want to make my hair look pretty. As per usual, today is day 2 hair, and it's usually when it behaves the most nice and looks the most curly. Should probably get back into the topic, but I don't really want to talk about it anymore. It does make me a little sad. I don't know what I want to do about it. Do I think it's like did it get rid of the situation or make me like not a fuzzball chatty Cathy space cadet? No, I'm still those things. I love the hair steamer. All of those things. It just makes me sad a little bit. You know, like, what could I have accomplished if I'd known this sooner? Or maybe I wouldn't have gone through as much frustration or overwhelm. What's going on with this piece? I think it belongs to something. Where's the thing it belongs to? I want more hair right here. It always goes forward, and then I have like this spot where there's no hair. Go over there, hair. Go over there. All right, and now that it's all steamied, this is the time to go in and put your hairspray so it locks in the moisture. Oh, this stuff smells so good. This is the Inner Sense. Oh, it's such a subtle smell, but it is such a good smell. It is not overwhelming in the least. It's just so beautiful. Let me do this until it dries. Thank you for watching Shallow Waters. I would love to hear your experiences, understandings, thoughts about ADHD and adult ADHD. And I look forward to chatting with you and seeing you in my next video. Please like and subscribe. What filming really looks like, the behind the scenes.